Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing some more tips, some more top tips. That video I filmed, I think it was nearly a year ago, is one of my favourites I've ever done and I'm really glad that you liked it. And I have come up with some more top tips that will change the way that you do makeup, change the way that your makeup looks, and hopefully help you achieve what you want from your makeup. So I'm starting a lot more bare than last time because first thing I want to talk about is skincare. Throwback. I used to just chuck my makeup straight onto my bare skin, and I have a feeling that some people still do that, and I just want to show you the difference it makes having a really solid skincare routine before you do your makeup. This is going to be really difficult because I'm not going to apply skincare to half my face. My morning routine is pretty simple. It consists of a toner, a serum, a moisturiser and an SPF. Even better if one of those products is a primer as well, because that means that you're set. So I'm going to start with the Fresh Rose Toner, so nice, and I'm going to just shake that into my hands. I think that a common misconception actually with skincare is it's going to make your makeup slidier. It's going to make it maybe not last as long, and especially for people with oilier skin, they think, oh, I don't want to add any more kind of moisture to my skin because then it will really slide about, when really it's the opposite. Prepare your skin, hydrate your skin and protect your skin before you do anything. So I've done my toner. I'm going to go in with my hyaluronic acid next. This is the Skin Ceuticals, and when you're doing your hyaluronic acid, just make sure your skin's a little bit damp underneath. So already you can see that my skin's starting to get a nice glow, and this side's quite flat. I'm gonna have a lovely lifted half on my face. Next step for me is actually kind of a moisturiser primer hybrid. Sneak peek. I'm gonna use the new Skin Nova by VIEVE. You'll find out more about that later. Our one and done step. So when I say about a primer and a moisturiser at the same time, this is it for me, and because of that I'm actually going to use it before my SPF. So I'm putting that on half my face. I like to use something that's nice and calming, something that's going to give my skin a little bit of tack for my makeup to stick to, and something that's going to really deeply hydrate my skin. Next is SPF. I never used to use SPF. Like years ago when no one used SPF. It has made the biggest difference in my skin, and when you use the right SPF that is suitable for under makeup, so by that I mean it's not too greasy, it's not too like white cast, it's great. So I'm going to use the Untitled SPF 50, give it a shake. Forget I do not need a full face worth. The glow is still there from my primer moisturiser, but we've got this lovely protective layer on top. So when you look at my skin, there's not a huge difference. This side has no real shine to it, no glow, and this side is super hydrated, it's protected, and actually what this does is good for your skin in the long run. And one of the first things that you learn when you do makeup is that good skin means good makeup every time. Moving on to the next step, we're going to talk about foundation, concealer, the amount that you use, and also the shades that you use. So I'm going to start on this side. This is going to be my good side, and this is going to be the side that maybe I wouldn't go to all the time. So with my good side, I'm going to take my Shiseido Synchro Skin foundation. This is the natural lifting, really like it. And I'm actually going to sheer it out a little bit with a tiny bit of the primer that I used. I'm going to just mix that together. And what you're going to be left with is a slightly sheerer foundation, and it's going to look slightly more natural, but you're still going to get all the coverage that you need. This is a mistake that I used to make all the time, especially when I was young. And you know, I didn't need foundation, but I was putting on so much of it. By using less, you get the result that you want, you get longer out of your product, and you get a really gorgeous finish that doesn't look too heavy. When you use a lot of product, it can sometimes do the opposite of what you want. You know, if I was to really load my skin up with foundation, which you'll see, it kind of does the opposite of what I want. It can make my skin look a bit cakey, it can make it look like I'm wearing a lot of makeup. It's not doing anything for me, you know? So I'm just going to do half my face like this. You can see I'm getting nice coverage, nice and natural, covering up everything that I want it to, any kind of like blemish scars, boom. Now for concealer, I'm going to use my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Ginger, and I'm going to use a tiny amount. So if you see, I'm using a little bit here, a little bit here, where I can see I've got a bit of darkness, a little bit around my nose, and maybe a tiny bit just above my brow, because right in the centre of my face is where I like to have a bit more coverage. And then I'm actually just going to pat that out with my same brush, lightly tapping that in. And then I'm just swapping over to a smaller brush to get under this eye. When you swap over and use a smaller brush, you get a little bit more precision with your blending, which is nice. That's good. You can see my redness here. You can see again it's quite flat. I've definitely got like a blemish here, but this side just looks a little bit more perfected, a little bit brighter. On the other side, I'm going to go in with as much products as I used to use. So I'm going to go in with a pump of foundation. Yikes. Now again, there's some times that I want a lot of coverage. Maybe the makeup look I'm doing warrants a really full coverage, flawless base. The reality of it is it's always going to look heavier if you use more product. This foundation is really beautiful, so it will look nice, but I'm hoping what you'll see is that it's unnecessarily heavy. I don't need as much as this. Bring it down my neck slightly. Nice, so it looks good. It looks flawless. You know, nothing left under, you cannot see anything. I'm going to use the same concealer, but I'm going to use it in a lighter shade. This is personal preference. I used to use a much brighter concealer under my eyes. Now I don't, now I use a concealer that pretty much matches my skin tone. Another thing I used to do was a famous triangle. So I used to put, you know, probably about that much concealer. Quite mental now, isn't it? Same here and same here. It's highlighting, essentially. What I really want to show you is just the difference that it makes when you use one that's closer to your skin tone. Again, there's a time and a place for this. If this is the way that you love to do it, then you bloody go for it. And I'm just going to pat that out with my foundation brush. I'm definitely not doing this side to make it look really shit or anything. I'm doing it in a way that I used to do it, just so you can see the difference if a difference is what you want. So what you can see is if I cover that up, you can see that it's starting to look quite heavy, and actually the lighter concealer is the thing that's mostly contributing to that. Feeling cute, looking cute. I'm going to use a powder. I'm just going to powder the same on both sides because I've kind of done this for a long time. Just the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. And on this side, I suppose the more natural side, I'm just using a little amount under my eye to set, and around my mouth. This is all the areas that I usually set. Nice, and because I've used not as much product, I don't really have much to set, whereas on this side, I've got quite a lot of product going on, so I'm going to have to go in slightly heavier with the powder, which in turn is going to make the whole look a bit heavier. So the powder actually is giving it a bit more of a natural finish, which is nice. There's not as much creamy product sitting under my eyes, but when you use more product under your eyes especially, there's more there to crease. So there's more there to move around, and there's more there to, I suppose, go wrong throughout the day. Whereas on this side, not much product there, so there's less room for it to move around. Next thing I want to do is my bronzer, blush and highlight. I kind of touched on this in the last video, but this is a really great trick if you are struggling with your bronzer, blush and highlight to make it all look really seamless. So on this side, I'm going to go in a bit of a, is it Neapolitan ice cream? Is that what it's called? I think it's that. I'm going to use the VIEVE Modern Bronzer, and I'm going to just go in with my brush over both shades, and I'm just going to start applying this, and I'm doing it slightly lower down. You know, this is my favourite difference to make. When you do your bronzer lower down, it really can pull down your whole face. It's definitely not going to look bad, I don't think, but it's just a neat trick. It's a neat trick. A little bit on my forehead. And I can tell at this stage that I have not done my skincare, because my skin is not as hydrated as usual, feeling a little bit drier going on. Got quite a lot of bronzer on, you can see. Next I'm going to do is blush. So I'm going to go in with the Sunset Blush in Cherub, pat that on, and then I'm going to just follow that line. Yeah, and I can see on my cheek here, because of the amount of concealer I've used, it's not looking super flawless. And then I'm going to go in with highlight. So it's quite a classic way to apply bronzer, blush, highlight. And I know that we've all seen like memes and stuff like that about looking like Neapolitan ice cream. And I'm going to apply my highlighter in a bit of a stripe. So I'm using the Nova Glow highlight in Holy Chic, which is my usual highlight. And I've applied that in a bit of a stripe. So if I turn, you can see bronzer, blush, highlight. Not looking superb, I would say. On this side, which is looking a lot more fresh, I am going to use my highlight first. I used to do this a lot on myself and it works great. So with highlighter, you don't really want to apply it in a stripe, because when your face moves, you want to highlight the kind of whole area. So I'm going to use a highlighting brush that's a little bit looser. This is the Smith 104. And I'm going to lightly apply kind of all over my cheek. Just the high parts though. above my brow, and what that's going to do is it's just going to start giving our skin a really healthy glow. I'm not going in too heavy either. I'm using a little amount of product and really buffing it into the skin. Now that I've done this, I'm going to go in with blush next. So little pat of blush, and I'm going to keep it super high. Favourite trick ever. I'm going to start applying high up on my cheekbone. I'm using the same products on both sides because I want to show you that you can use the same products and get a really different result. It's all about how you apply and how much product. Kind of brushing it over my temple, and then what that gives is it just gives a kind of genuine looking rosiness to the cheek. Back in with the bronzer, and this time I'm going to go in with medium 1 first, and I'm going to do the same thing as the blush. I'm going to start at the back, super high, small amount of product, and because we've done all our skincare on this side, products are just going on so smooth, which is the opposite sometimes of what you would think if you'd layered up all your skincare first. A little touch on the forehead, still love that. A little touch underneath the jaw. I'm going to go in with the same brush into medium 2, and I'm just going to be really careful about where I apply this. So this is the slightly darker shade, and I like to just apply that slightly under my cheek. And I still bring it down, you know, I like to contour just to kind of my pupil almost. So if you see where my pupil is, about here, it's actually close to the end of my mouth. And this just looks a lot more polished, a lot more seamless, lifted. We love a lift. Lifted and youthful and beautiful. And this side just looks actually a bit patchy because I've just put foundation straight onto my bare skin and I used too much product. Next thing is eyebrows. This is going to be like a hit or miss depending on what you like. So let's zoom you in. Laminated brows, right? Huge trend at the moment. I personally really like it, but what I've found works best for me is a bit of a middle ground. So I'm going to do this brow first, and I actually should have done this before I did my foundation, but good people make mistakes as well. I've got my 24-hour brow setter by Benefit. Best brow gel out there. I'm just going to start combing through my brow, getting all the hairs coated. And the longer you go back and forth and do this, the stickier your brows will get, which means that you can really play with the shape, manipulate how you want them to look. I'm going to swap in to a spoolie, just combing through gently with a spoolie. I'm having to be more careful because I've done my foundation already. And I'm just using the spoolie with no product on it, just to put the hairs where I want them. And I'm not doing quite a laminated brow, but I am lifting, especially the arch. So I quite like that. It's a bit of a model brow, it's a bit of like a, I was going to say fuzzy brow, if the shoe fits. And then just to give it a little bit more depth, I'm going to use my Gimme Brow in the shade number 4. It's slightly deeper than my actual brow hairs, and I'm just going to carefully go through my brow with this, give it a tiny bit more depth and a bit more thickness. It's super natural, but we've given our brows slightly more width, which is in turn lifting our eye, and it just looks really nice. You can't really go wrong by following your natural brow hair and your brow shape. It naturally just suits your face. On this side, I'm going to not brush them up. I'm going to keep them low down, and I'm going to fill them in a really like bog standard way, and I'm going to do them quite dark just to match my hair colour. So I'm going to go under and over, just filling in the natural shape. And I'm going to go through with my Gimme Brow again, and I'm just going to coat the hairs, and I'm going to just pull them straight across, which is exactly what I used to do. I never used to brush my brow hairs up at all. Wow, that looks like an old brow I used to do. The next trick, one of my favourites, hands down. I'm going to show you how your base for your eye makeup can make the biggest difference. I used to use a very light base under my eye makeup to make it pop, but if you're doing a neutral eye, you do not need that. If you're doing a bright coloured eye, then definitely go for like a white base or something super bright, but my favourite tip is to match your skin tone with your eye makeup base. So I'm going to use a light base on this eye, and I'm going to use my kind of more skin tone colour on this eye. I'm going to use the VIEVE eye ones. I'm going to start with vanilla, and you can make it look good, but it takes so much more time, and you know, time is precious. We're busy people. And don't get me wrong, I've done this before for a bright eye makeup, and I've just put the light base under where I'm doing the bright makeup, if that makes sense. The eye ones do make for amazing eyeshadow bases. Like if you're super fair and you're fairer than me, then definitely try this shade as a base for your eye makeup, but you can see it just looks so bright. And I see it all the time. People do make it look good, but I just think it takes so much longer to like finesse. On this eye, I'm going to use Sand. So a wee bit lighter than my skin tone, but you'll see straight away the tone of it is way more flattering, and it's got a slight peachiness to it which will cancel out the darker tones in your lids, which is really what you want. And it's almost just like I'm using a concealer in my eye, but it's something that's made to go under eye makeup or to be eye makeup itself. I'm using the same brush just to pat it out. So I'm going to go in with my eyeshadow palette, super easy eye look, just something nice and flattering for today until I stop filming this and I have to go and fix my eyes. I'm going to go in with the Essential palette and I'm going to use Buff in the crease and a little bit of Delicious. And that's it, just a super basic matte smoky eye. So on this eye, I'll show you as well the difference that it makes. Slightly winging out your eyeshadow, even if it's like a soft smoky eye. I'll actually just go in with a slightly smaller brush in the shade Delicious, which is a really nice warm chocolatey brown to build up that gradient. Right, let's try it. Let's try the same thing on the other eye. This is going to look pretty nuts. So you can see that this just looks super blended and soft and enhanced. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with the same brushes and the same product on this eye. And the product still goes on nice and you can still get a nice blend, but that bright base is always going to come through. And then on this side, I'm not going to wing it out as much. I'm going to keep it a bit more round. One good thing about using a bright base is the pigment is going to look amazing and you're going to be able to get colourful eye looks to really pop. But for the day-to-day, having something that matches your skin tone is going to make your life so much easier. Because I've got such a light base, I'm actually going to use the shade So Shy just here to help blend everything, and that will set the bright base underneath. So like I said, still got a beautiful blend. It's like there's something not quite right about it on my skin tone. For my next trick, I'm going to use black eyeliner on this side first. So I'm going to do a pretty standard winged eyeliner. I'm going to start in my inner corner and just do like a cat eye. And I'm going to do a wing. Do you know what? This really looks like makeup I used to do when I worked at Alaska with a white eyebrow. So this side I use black, on this side I'm going to use brown. So just in case you've not tried it, I want to show you the difference that it makes. It's actually, I find it easier because it's not as intense as black, it's not as much commitment. And I'm going to just do a similar wing, but I'm not going to fill it right to my inner corner because on me it's not my favourite. There we go, so it's a similar length. On this side I've kind of aimed a little bit higher, and on this side I've kind of went straight out to elongate my eye. There we go. So you see, this, I just think that's really pretty and it's really nice to try if you've not done it before. Especially actually on really fair skin and blonde hair. If your complexion is quite light like that, try the brown, you'll like it. Right, let's pop some mascara on. So I'm just building up the lashes. And I think when I've got mascara on, it enhances like the roundness of my eye. And then on this eye, I'm actually going to pay more attention to the outer lashes here. Wow, what different. While I'm here, I do need to do my freckle, even though it's not the wrong thing to do. Pieces me back together. Before I move on to my final trick, I'm going to do my little half lash thing. So on this side, I'm going to use a full lash just to show you how it changes the way that your eye makeup looks compared to if you use a half lash. I still think both are great. It really depends on your eye shape and what you want your eyes to look like. But for me and this eye, I really want a half lash that will elongate my eye, still show space in my lid and things like that. And then on this eye, you'll see how a full lash can actually make me look quite heavy. It can make my eyes look quite heavy. I'm going to use still a fuller half lash just so it's not like night and day. Obviously a full lash and then a little wispy half lash is going to look really different. So on this side we're going to use a full lash. Like, when was the last time you saw me like that? It's amazing. These lashes are actually beautiful. These actually are my collaboration with Tati lashes, which I love, but I always cut more off than this. These are the TL3s. And then on this side, I'm going to use the HL5, the half lash. So it's still, you know, it's still glamour. While I'm here, another trick is the difference that lower lash mascara makes, depending on how you do it. So I've got this eye here, which I'm going to go from the inner corner all the way out, and I'm just using the L'Oreal Bambi Lash. I'm going to really coat the whole lash. So So you can see it looks quite spiky, quite dramatic, which suits a lot if you've got like a lot going on underneath your eyes. And then on this side, I'm actually just going to do the ends and I'm going to make it a little bit wispier. So instead of going like here, I'm going right to the root of the lash to build it up from there. On this side, I'm literally just basically like colouring in the ends. See how that looks just a little bit wispier, a bit more natural. This side looks quite heavy. For my final comparison, I would say this isn't a good and a bad because I love wearing both. But I'm going to show you the difference it makes going with your natural lip colour for an everyday look compared to going for a heavier nude lip and just the kind of freshness it gives. I think when I'm really glam, see if I've got big dark smoky eyes and I do a really nude lip, it's my favourite thing. But if I'm going for a more everyday makeup, this is my new favourite way to do it basically. I'll come back here in a year's time and I'll be like, this is how I do it now, and it's completely different because makeup is the most fun. And it's very evolving and your style will change a million times. And I think it's really important that you always look back and with kindness. You know, some of the makeup looks that I did before are wild and I'm like, she was having a great time though. And she thought she looked great and she does look great. On this side, we're gonna go super nude with a dark brown lip liner. Again, one of my favorite things to do, but it really depends. It depends, you know, on the situation. So I'm gonna go in with the Modern Lip Definer in Bark. How funny. My mouth is getting so oily here and that's not the side that I did skincare on. And if you want to see the difference in lip liner, I'll link the past video that I did because I show you how lip liner can change your lips, but I'm just going to do my usual. And then I'm going to go in with the Modern Matte Lipstick in the shade VIEVE. I know that I'm going through loads of products, I'll link everything that I used down below. And I'm going to blend this in. Like I said, I don't want this to look shit, I really don't. Do you know what's funny? I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all. I actually like this makeup. On this side, I'm going to do my 2 lip liner lip gloss trick. So I'm going to start with a slightly darker lip liner that's got more of a pinky tone. So that was Rumor Modern Lip Definer, and this is the Modern Lip Definer in Brat, and I'm going to use Brat to blend this out. And then all we've got left to do is lip gloss, so I'm going to use the VIEVE Lip Dew. What a difference, oh my god. So I'm going to set my makeup with my all-nighter, do both sides. Oh wow, wow! I'm just going to use a tiny bit of brow pencil just to fill in any gaps on this brow and slightly pick up the end. If I'd done this brow before my base, it would be slightly more laminated looking, but I still like it. Now that my setting spray's kind of dried, I just want you to look at this side, right? There's no patchiness, there's no like gathering of product or anything. I'm just going to slightly powder my centre of my face, which is what I always do. But then on this side, do you see if I shine my face like this? This oiliness is everywhere. Like this is the side with all the skincare and the prep and all the moisturisers and all the nice primers. And this side didn't have any of that and already my skin is going to shit. And I did not do anything different. So I'm going to powder that away, but it's still going to look chunky. It's going to look chunky AF. So you guys, that is the finished makeup. Favourite thing to do is to compare both sides. So if I do this, I think that you guys see me wear this makeup a lot. It is such a nice like everyday makeup. If you're a makeup wearer, it's great for an event. If you're not a makeup wearer, there's no harsh lines. Everything just looks like it goes and it matches. Yeah, skin looks great, really chuffed with it. Yeah, just really like this. I feel like I wear this makeup all the time. This side, there's parts of it that I love. Like I love this nude lip with a dark brown lip liner, super 90s. The skin is a no for me. Like the prep before makes the hugest difference. And it's just something that I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do my makeup without preparing my skin properly. And I think it's so funny that you can see the oiliness starting to like gather even though I've got skincare underneath this side. It makes no sense, but it does make sense. Things that I would definitely not do, the skin, the brows, I feel like they're nice, but there's nothing special about them. You know, maybe if I took a little bit more care when I was doing it, then I'd like it better. This bright light eyebrow, I don't think is for me anymore, especially when it's paired with the brightness here and the brightness here. It just makes everything look quite stark, although look at pictures from me of me like 8 years ago when I worked at Mascara. This is what I looked like, and I made loads of friends there. She's friendly. She's nice, she's glam, she loves her makeup. She's great. I don't think it's terrible. I think I used to do my makeup like this all the time. But there's just certain things that I would change to bring it over to this side, if that makes sense. What do you guys think? Do you remember her? I still love her. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you like videos like this. I'm sure I've got more tips and tricks somewhere in my soul. As always, I'll link everything that I used down below. Let me know if this video has helped you at all. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. And I'm just going to pass on half my face. See, all I want to do is cover the really light parts up with something that matches my skin tone. But I can't. It's not part of the video. It's going to make it not... It's going to... And also... Next step, I'm going to do a black eyeliner. I just put myself in the face. I'm very warm and my legs are sticking to this chair. I am